yeah, I was well aware that if I didn't score runs in this test match, then more than likely it would be my last test match. So there was that little bit extra pressure going into the game.
When Stephen ever had his back to the wall, he always was trying to find a way to fight and fight his way out of it.
If you'd given me the option of what I wanted Steve Waugh out, and thinking of the future of English cricket was that if we could get Steve Waugh out and out of the Australian side, that's got to be a bonus for English cricket, if not world cricket, playing against Australia.
Leading into the 5th test of 2002-03, we were obviously very happy to have retained the Ashes, but there was a focus on the captain, Steve, and his position.
You get to a certain age and when you don't score the runs you've been scoring previously, the questions come pretty thick and fast, and the word retirement was at every press conference. And before that test match, I think someone asked me what my highlight of my career was, and I said, hopefully it hasn't happened yet.
I didn't want him just to get away and have the hero's moment in Sydney that he ended up doing.
And even now, 10 years later, talking about it, it's a moment that lives on.
There it is! Great moment in the history of Australian Test cricket.
Coming into the Sydney Test, I'd played pretty well in Melbourne and Perth before that, and I knew there was a score there somewhere, but I was obviously running out of time, so that there's a temptation to sort of get ahead of yourself and be frustrated and play not to your tempo and not to your pace. So in the Sydney Test, I was really conscious of trusting myself and knowing that I was in pretty good form, but obviously time was running out. I thought this is the day to really show everyone that I can still really play, so in the back of my mind, my total focus was making a century and beyond. The biggest hurdle was the distraction of everything was going on around me, particularly in as I say, the media, and I knew myself I needed to score runs, so there was that extra pressure, but I think after 17, 18 years, in a funny sort of way, I needed that to sort of just galvanise my spirit and give me a real focus for the game.
There he is, listen to the roar. Steve Waugh out of the traps and onto the ground really fast. They're on their feet in the stadium.
I tried to get on the field as quick as I could to sort of take the emotion out of the moment, because there was so much goodwill and so many people cheering for me. I knew that if I walked out slowly, I'd be consumed by what was going on around me, so I just wanted to get out there as quick as I could, almost catch everyone by surprise, take guard before people even noticed I was there, and then I could sort of relax a bit.
Boys away, he's whipped it away. Listen to that roar as the ball runs away into the boundary rope. Steve Waugh's off the mark at the SCG.
He just looked so ready to go. Whilst he was normally a bit more watchful and took his time and built an innings, and the tempo would go up and up slowly, it looked to me that he was just in a very aggressive, positive mindset and wanted to take the game to England.
It's gone again, that's a better shot, that's 4, beautifully played.
It didn't really surprise me or any of the boys, probably the way that he went out and played. He showed great intent right through his innings and played a lot of the trademark Steve Waugh shots, the back foot cover drives and the flicks through mid-wicket and the front foot cover drives the way that we always knew he could play.
Oh, that's beautifully played, straight onto leg stop, that's 4. 3 in a row, Caddick getting 4 and straight.
I knew that this was what he wanted. He wanted to be in early, showing a point. And the moment he got a few of his trademark cuts and pulls away and flicks, bottom hand flicks to the leg side and slog sweep the swing at Dawson a couple of times, you knew that he was off and firing and had a point to prove.
Oh, it's a beautiful shot. Well gone, off line, but superbly played.
There's the 50, and what a convincing way to bring it up.
I think as you get towards the end of your career, you go back to the way you started your career. I mean, I was a big shot maker early on in my first couple of years of Shield cricket and Test cricket. Played a lot of shots, and that was the way I really enjoyed playing. I think circumstances changed out when Australia was struggling for a number of years. I probably put a higher price on my wicket than I did when I started, and changed my game a little bit. Took out the hook shot. Towards the end, you go back to playing with a bit more freedom, and maybe the way I played in that innings was really deep down my natural game and the way I probably could have played my whole career, but things change and you modify and you're aware of what the consequences are, and sometimes that can change your game.
He's cut that away. This will be 4. This is running down towards the boundary. That is 10,000 runs for Steve Waugh, the third man in the history of the game of cricket to have achieved that milestone.
I wasn't really even aware of the time on my score. I was just felt so good batting. I was just enjoying the moment so much after such a tense year. It was just great to hit the ball in the middle and feel fantastic and be scoring runs. I think probably the first time I thought about it was when I got into the 80s. There was a couple of overs left in the day, and I thought, I'm a pretty good chance of getting 100 here. And I think I took a dicey 2 down to fine leg, which I nearly got run out on. And that was the moment I thought, okay, I can get 100 now. I've had a bit of luck not being run out, and I'm pushing the envelope a bit, but you may as well keep going for it.
Steve Waugh goes for it, gets it fine, 4 runs, it'll go. Into the 90s he goes.
I made a conscious effort in that last over to not force it, just to be myself and let things play out the way they were going to play out. The first 3 balls were good balls, which I played out. The 4th ball was a little bit shorter and wider, and I tried to sort of squirt it out behind square for 4.
Gets it up, Dorso. There he goes, through cover.
When I hit it, I thought I can run 4 here. A bit ambitious at the time.
Come on, Andy, Andy's chasing. West 3, 2, 3.
And obviously when I got 2, I thought, well, I can only get 3. And when I got down the other end, I really thought that was the end of the chance of getting 100.
2 balls to come.
We were just all hoping that he could actually get back on strike for that last delivery. The over seemed like it went for 10 minutes as well. There was lots of talk between the England captain and the bowler about how they were going to bowl and what field they wanted to set.
It's funny the way things transpire out. I mean, Hussain really was quite generous in his field placings to Gill. He put a lot of guys back, and I think he probably wanted Gilchrist to get a single so I could get back on strike.
Nasser Hussain played it beautifully. He played the theatre of it beautifully. He was engaged in the moment, and I'm sure he's sniffed out a wicket too, a wicket-taking opportunity.
I wanted Steve Waugh on strike because I wanted him to try and get to his 100 that night. I was trying to win the Test match. I'm not bothered what Steve Waugh was getting up to, whether he got his 100 or not, but I wanted him to try and get his 100 because he would try and play the big shot, and in trying to play the big shot, he might get out, and that was a huge advantage to us.
I knew that one boundary and I've got 50 to sleep on overnight, and I considered it off the second last ball. I thought it's a nice way to walk off at stumps, 50 not out, having seen out the last over, but I reckon it would have been one of the more unpopular 50s ever scored if I didn't get Steve Waugh on strike for that last ball.
There it is. Wow, 1 ball to be bowled. Steve Waugh on 98.
Fortunately, I managed to dink one into mid-wicket and get that single, probably the most important single of my career.
Gilly, of course, was an amazing player, could manipulate circumstances and just easily flick one out to mid-wicket for a single, which put me on strike for the last ball.
The build-up was theatre at its best. I remember talking to Stephen mid-pitch, waiting for the delivery to be bowled, and he just said, just get on your bike, run fast, which I was obviously going to do if it was a 2.
I had a good feeling about it, but I just said to myself, I think these guys think I'm going to try and slog sweep, so just don't premeditate it. If it's that type of delivery, you can play that shot, do it, but just wait for the last split second, then play your shot.
So I went up to Dawson and said, look, I've really got a lot to say to you, but I'm just stalling here. I want Steve to sweat at that end a little bit. I just want him just to be in the nervous 90s for that fraction of a second longer.
There was a lot of gameplay, and Alex Stewart was behind the stumps, and he said to someone, do you write your own scripts? Which relaxed me a little bit. And then I brushed the brow with the red hanky and looked down the crease, and there was a couple of strands of the red hanky in the crease, and I just felt that as an omen that it was all going to be okay.
True to his form and his career, he just stayed still, watched the ball and dealt with it on its merits, and it was right there to belt.
didn't even feel the ball come off the bat, it just hit so sweet and knew it was instantly 4, and the whole ground erupted, and it was like someone turned the volume from 4 to 10.
Gonford, there it is! Equals Sir Donald Braben's tally in hundreds. It was more than that for Stephen Waugh. They stood to him when he came out. They're standing when he's going off, and he's not out. Not out, 102. What a moment.
Nasser Hussain reluctantly congratulates the Australian skipper. 1 week, what a difference. Gilchrist did it, right to a fine art. Single of the second last ball. Steve Waugh manufactures a very memorable moment.
Clapping in the commentary box. Clapping all over.
The excitement around that moment when Steve scored that 100 off the last ball lasted for a long time. Obviously into the change rooms. I remember out on the field, I was just going, I just couldn't believe it. I wanted to jump and scream, and he was just so cool. Typical Tugger, just, yeah, that's it, all in a day's work.
That is a magnificent innings under pressure. You'll see none better. 40,000 fans and millions of viewers around the world.
It's actually quite a funny scene where Gilly's sort of waiting with his glove in the air, waiting to give Stephen a high five, and Stephen sort of ran straight past him.
He just left me hanging. I was there, total air, missed him. He wasn't even looking at me.
I didn't even know he went for the high five till I watched the video about 4 weeks later, and then I sent a message apologising for not doing the high five. But yeah, look, I was totally, I guess, immersed in what was going on, and as I say, when it hit, it was such a relief of emotions when I got the 100, and the crowd, I've never heard a noise like it, and they all rose as one. And it was a moment in my career where if I could give it to the spectators to experience what it's like playing for Australia, I would give them those couple of minutes.
For once in his little career, he was under a little bit of pressure, but he came through it.